Hi, last time I was showing to you how you can set up your Firebase project for sending cloud messaging to your applications in iOS and Android. And now I want to go further and tell you how you can or how you need to set up your application to receive this cloud messaging via Firebase service. So let's start with the iOS case. If you remember, I was showing that when you are entering or setting up the project in Firebase, you need to add your applications to the settings, and then you need to download the Google Services info plist, which is generated by the Firebase website, and then you also get a detailed SDK instruction how you can include the framework into your application and what you need to do to get your messaging. However, these descriptions are not fully complete because there are things what you also need to do in order to get these messages into your applications. So just going through this SDK instruction, so it's saying that you need to download the Google Services info plist, and then you need to include it into your Xcode project. Then when you go to the next point, it's saying that you need to add the Firebase SDK to your application. So how you can do this, you need to copy this URL here. Let's copy it. And then when you go to your Xcode project, as you can see, I already included the Google Services info plist. So basically, once you downloaded it, you just drag and drop into your sample project, and then this is basically already integrated with this one. But you also need to add the package dependencies of the SDK, which you can already see here. But how you can do that? You need to go to the top of your application, and then inside the project area you have the package dependencies, and then when you click on the add button, because I already have it added, so I cannot add it again, but you get this page, this dialog box, and here at the search and enter package URL, you need to copy the URL what we were taking from the instruction from the Firebase site. And then when you click the add package, this will automatically include the relevant packages for your application. So that's how you can do that. It takes some time until it's loading everything. And then you also can set up, which version you want to use for your application. As these versions are continuously updated, upgraded, you might need to come back to this page when you are refreshing your application or updating your application, and then you can refresh or update your packages. And this you can do from the file menu as well, from the packages, and you click on the update to the latest package versions. However, if you set up on a wrong way here on this page, you might not get any update for this SDK. So make sure that you have this set up on a normal or on the right way. Okay, so this is one thing what you have to do, but this is not enough, I would say. So you need to go to the app delegate or application delegate class, and then you need to do certain things. So if you want to use the messaging service, then you need to import the Firebase core and the Firebase messaging classes or includes, and then you need to do certain things, and this is also partially described in the in here in the Firebase website. So it's saying that if you use Swift, what I'm using currently, then it's saying that you need to import the Firebase core, and you need to configure the Firebase SDK or Firebase app portion as well. But this is not enough to receive messages. So this is just simply initializing the Firebase SDK itself. So what you need to do is, of course, you can see that that the configuration here is done. But for messaging, you need to do certain things, as I said. So basically, you need to look for the messaging token. So this token is generated by the Firebase server, and this will uniquely identify your device or browser or whatever you use this messaging service. And here you can take the Firebase FMC ID if it is needed, but the token itself is the important thing. So here in the application finish launching with option, I'm looking for this token, and if the token is received, then I'm just printing it into the debug window. And then we also need to add the Firebase messaging delegate into the app delegate. So basically this will receive the messages, and then if we basically link it to the app delegate, then with its let's say with its delegate function, then we can also work on the received messaging. The other thing is that if we want to show the message itself, then we need to configure and use the user notification center from the iOS itself, and then we need to make sure that that we authorize the system to show these notifications. So here what you can see, this authorization request basically, and we are setting it up that we can alert the user, we can use the badges, and we can also have sounds. And then the application itself should register for the remote notifications. So these are very important steps, because these are making sure that we can start to get notifications to the application. The next thing is that we need to handle the remote notifications, and we need to do it at several places. So at first we have this did receive a remote notification. So this we need to add to the application, and then we need to use this message ID, and once we received the message, we also need to handle it. So we have another one that did receive remote notification with user info, and then we need to have a completion handler using this message what we received by the remote notification. So here if you were looking into it, I was also defining here certain things. So I was using a token, I was using the Firebase SMC ID and the message info variables to basically store the message what we received on a global base. You can handle it differently, but I was putting it into this area. So then we were here at this point. So we received the data, and we are using the data for the completion handler. And then once we registered the remote notification. If you remember, at the beginning we also had to register for the remote notification. So basically, once we register for it, and the system is basically taking a token or receiving a token, then we need to do something with this token. If you want to use the token for something, you want to send messages directly to certain phones or to certain users, then you need to save these tokens, and you need to make sure that when the token is changed, because that can happen whenever the user is reinstalling the application. Sometimes when you have a new revision of the application, and the user is updating the application itself, then this token might be changing, and then you need to basically register this new token, or you change from the old token to the new token. Here, of course, you will not get the old token, so you don't know exactly to which token you should update the current token. So what you can do is that you can store the token, and maybe if the token is not used for a while, then you can delete the old ones. But as I said, you will not get the old token, so you will not know which token is refreshed or updated. Okay, so here we get the token, and currently in this sample application, I'm not storing the token, I'm just writing it out. So if I want to show you that how you can send a message to this device, then I can use the token for sending the message to this specific device. So then we also need to add some additional things. So we need to have extensions which are basically coming from the Firebase itself, and we need to add this message delegate. So as you have seen that we had this messaging delegate defined or linked to the application delegate itself, but we didn't have this defined at the beginning of the class. So or we can do it as an extension, or we can directly put this inside the application delegate class. So there we need to define this messaging did receive registration token. So this is basically, again, receiving the Firebase registration token, and then at this section we can also use this to register for some standard topics. If you want to send messages to all the devices based on a topic, then we can subscribe to that topic here. And basically the messaging let's say class itself will be or can be called here from the application delegate, or if you use it globally, then you can basically get this subscribe to a topic or news topics. You can use it in the whole application. Then we also need to add here certain things if we want to show the application in the application the messages. So as an extension, we can also add this UN user notification center delegate, and we need to basically write or override some of the functions here. So for example, the user notification center will present a function. We need to add certain things. So basically we need to take that user information what we were receiving together with the message, and typically this is the title and the message itself, and some data might be behind. But here we are using the normal or the standard iOS notification system. So what this function is doing is that basically taking the message information, and finally it's returning that what should be presented. So here the return banner, badge, and sound. This will basically create a banner, and when the message is received, this will show the banner for the user. And this is important because if you want to show the banner when the application is in foreground, typically the notifications are not shown when the application is in foreground. So if you want to show it to the user, even if the application is in foreground, then you need to add this function into your application. Otherwise, you will just get a sound that the message received, and you will get a notification icon in the notification area, but you will not get the banner, and the user might be not recognizing that the message received, or actually what message received, and what is the information behind. Okay, so basically this is what is needed, and also here we have this user notification center did receive. Basically this here is just doing some background information storing, but this is not this function is not really required for the application. However, you can also handle here certain things. Okay, so then what is also important, but I'm not going into the details right now, we will touch this later. So basically, if you want to handle certain things when the application is in background, then you also need to add a notification service implementation or service extension implementation into your iOS application, and I will show you what is this used for. Okay, so this is how you need to prepare your application basically. So all these are in the app delegate part of the application is required to be able to receive messages. But as I said, this is not really enough because if you just have this setup, still you can't receive messages into your application, because Firebase is using or Firebase need to use a kind of authorization to get to your application, and this authorization is going through certifications which need to be set up to your application. Otherwise, the Firebase message will not reach your device. So how you need to do this? You can basically get a detailed instruction for this on the web pages from Apple, and also from Firebase. But the main important thing is to go to your application targets, and you have a bundle identifier, and you also need to have at the signing capabilities, you need to have for the background modes the remote notification, and you also need to add the push notifications. But here you just need to add these things. How you can add these things to your application? You need to go to the signing and capabilities, as I said, and you need to add the capabilities here. So you need to go down here until the background, or you can type in background modes, but this is already added. And also you need to add push notifications, but this is already added, so basically you can't add them twice, but you need to do this. Then here at the frameworks and libraries, if the Firebase messaging is not added, then you need to add it. So once you link the package dependencies, you can add the Firebase messaging via this button. And here, as you can see, you have many Firebase options. So if you want to have beside the messaging, you want to add maybe other things like storage or analytics, then you can do it from here. So then to get the messages for your application, you need to go to the certification part of your development page, and then you need to create certificates for the Firebase. And here we have the inside the settings we have the cloud messaging, and as you can see, the Apple push notification authentication key is at first empty. I already set it up, but when you are just creating your application here in the Firebase, you don't have this configuration here, and then you need to add this, and you have actually these two options: the APN's authentication key and the APN certificate. So this second one is the old way of setting up the certificates, so you can ignore it. You need to use the first one. And how you can do this basic, or how you can get this, that you have this certification area here, and then you have the certificates for the application. And here you can see that I created a certificate for this sample project, and this is a push service. So once you want to create a certificate, you create a new one, and then you need to go down, and you need to find the Apple push notification service. So either you just use it for the sandboxing, so basically it's for the development, and this one is for both. So you can use it for development, and you can use it for production as well. So once you come to here, and then you say continue, then you need to select the application ID, and here you need to select, or I to select the sample project, and then you need to continue, and then you need to create a certification signing request. And how to do this, you can get here to the learn more, and then this describes how you can create the certification request for your push notification. And once you carry out these steps and you download the or you have the certification file created via these tools, then you can come back here and you can upload the certificate. And from this certificate, the website is creating for you another one, which you can then upload to the Firebase site. So once you come here and you say instead of delete, of course, you have here the upload. You can upload the file, and then you can basically start to send messages to your application. So if I'm coming back here, you can see that it was generated. You can download the certificate again if needed, and then you can upload it into your application here in Firebase. Okay, so let's go back to the application. So basically here everything is set up, and also in the website everything was set up. And let's run now this sample. And you will see how this is doing the job. So the application actually does not contain anything, so just this white page can be visible, and you can see here that the application received the registration token. So this token is the one which is identifying the application itself or the device itself. And if you want to send a message to this application, so let's bring it into foreground, and then let's go to the sample project, and here at the messaging, okay, let's show the application. So here at the messaging, I already sent some messages. So let's come here, and okay, I need a bit bigger page here. Okay, I still can't see. Okay, so let's duplicate the message, and here at the send test message you can put the token inside, and as you can see, if it would be a token which is already used before, then it would be visible here, or it would be selected, but this is a completely new token generated by the website. And now we can send a test. So the test will be just that it's a message, and the message, okay, now I was sending that in the background, so you can see that message received in the background. Actually it was in the foreground, doesn't matter, but the badge and everything was visible basically inside the application. But if I'm closing the application, and now this the badge is already shown as 10, but this is an old one, so doesn't really matter. So now the application is closed, and I can send again this test message. Okay, so this one was the last one, and when I'm sending it, you can see that it's received in the background. But what I was telling earlier, that even if you would close or you shut down the phone, I mean you just put it into sleep mode, you would still receive the messages. But what you are not receiving, or what you are not doing, is basically that when the application is in the background, you can handle certain things. So for example, you can set the badge to to a certain number, or you can write whatever into the badge. But here in this code, in this code, I was showing or I was setting up the badge to 1. But what I was not mentioning that you need to add this extension, and how you can make the extension that you can create a new target actually. So here you say a new target, and then here from the new targets you can select the notification service extension. And once you select it and you create it, then you will basically get this notification extension to your application, and then you will have this class here basically empty, and you need to fill up with your content. And here you can do whatever you want in the background basically. So the application itself will not run, only this code will be executed. And then of course if you are using like a standard notification service, then this will be also handled by the iOS itself. So here, as you can see, I'm just using the badge basically that will be updated. And something else you also need to add, of course, here. So once you create the target, you should be having a bundle identifier here, and you would also need to define an application group to make sure that this service is belonging to your application. So here I was creating this group with the application ID itself, starting with the group and name. And this group definition you also need to have in the main application. So you need to set it up like this. And of course you can link this application to any other application if you want, but typically you will use it for a specific application. So once you did this, you can start to get the messages. I need to restart the application or let's say run it again to make sure that it's working together with this notification service. So now I have the application running. I close it here. It doesn't need to be open. And now I can send again the message. Hopefully the ID was not changing. And then you can see that the application or the message was received in the background, and the badge was updated from 10 to 1. So basically the notification service itself was running in the background and doing the job. Yeah, so basically this is how you need to set up your iOS application with the Firebase messaging. So I hope you liked this tutorial, and in the next video I will come with the Android setup as well, which will be a bit simpler and easier because Firebase is basically a Google service, so the integration into the Google applications or Android applications are much more easier. So see you next time, and if you enjoyed the tutorial, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, and see you next time.